Hello, knitting squirrels. I think I have the camera right. This is take 2. I had put a stitch marker on here. I've done several rows. Not as many as I would do if I were doing an actual brim, but it's enough for the tutorial. I want to show you, see the difference between the knit stitches? These are 2 knits. See how it looks like if that were a little neck. These look like little scarves, little V scars around their neck. And these are horizontal bars. Those are the purls. These are the knits. And it's important to be able to tell the difference between the two so you can, what's called, read your knitting to be able to tell what stitch is what. So if you would lay your work down or whatever and then come back to it and you're doing some sort of pattern where you're knitting and purling, you want to be able to tell what's what. But see how those stitches look too? Look at the knit stitches are the ones that stick out, and the purl stitches are the ones that recess back. So you've got this cool ribbing effect. Nice and stretchy for your brim. I did go back and put a stitch marker in. This is a cool little ball of yarn that looks like a planet that came out of my Yarn-Yay box. My last Yarn-Yay, because I'm not doing any more. Okay, so I'm going to continue. Those are knits, because these are purls, and I can tell those are also knits. What happened is I had done like 14 minutes of this tutorial, and then my needles fell apart. They came unscrewed, and it took me a little while, and I almost dropped a bunch of stitches. Granny was about to say some words, but I didn't. But it was taking too long, and I just scrapped that one. I said, well, hopefully you got the gist, even though I did it upside down yesterday, of the knit 2, purl 2, how to start your hat, the casting on, and the brim, which is knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. So I said I'll just do these last few. I was doing a whole row, was what I had planned to do, and then that came apart. And I said the lesson with that is always be sure if you're using interchangeable needles, and that just means you've got the tips in a set and they unscrew from the cable part. And there's a little tiny, you can see where that joint is right there. There's a little tiny hole somewhere around here. And that hole is where you stick your, there it is, where you stick your tool in. Well, I thought I had it. To tighten it, yeah, right there. See that little tiny? Yep, that's it right there. That's this little, it looks like a little pin that you stick in there. It just gives you something to hang on to turn it. Okay, so now my stitch marker's here. I know I'm at the beginning. Also, my tail is right here in this stitch. But I would totally suggest using a stitch marker because later you're going to have some decreases. Don't freak out, they're very easy. Now what you do after you get your brim as long as you want it, now I would totally do it a lot longer than this. This is probably only about 1 inch. I would do 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And if you want a brim that you fold up, then you need to do twice that much, 3 or 4 inches. Okay, now I'm going to, instead of knitting 2, purling 2, I'm just going to start knitting every stitch. And this is wonderful TV knitting. Maybe not while you're learning, but once you've got it, you totally watch the tube. Oops. Watch YouTube, whatever. And just knit, knit, knit. I'll have to check my pattern. You can look at some patterns or tutorials. Probably you'll want to look at tutorials. I would check out Ross, the Smell Great guy. Smells Like Yarn is his channel. He has a very simple vanilla, we call it, which means plain, not fancy, beanie. And it's a free pattern, and I'm pretty sure he's got a tutorial. And his is, I'm sure, much, much better than mine. But follow his as far as how far it says to knit yours. Of course, you can do the brim, how he does it too, whatever you want to do. How some, patterns will say, just continue to knit every row until you get the desired length or whatever. And I think for me that's around 7 inches or so. And then you'll start your decreases, and I will help you with that. Also, if you watch Ross or anybody else's beanie or hat tutorials, they'll show you how to do that. So that's all you do, guys, is just knit, 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 knit. And it's going to look totally different than the ribs. It's going to be a beautiful stockinette. I meant to bring a hat over here to show you. That's all you do. Just keep knitting, knitting, knitting. When you come to that stitch marker, just slip it over. SM in patterns just means, I'm going to go grab a hat right quick so you can see. Just means slip marker. PM means place marker. Alright. This is Crystal's hat, the one that I got done. You see how I did the ribbing, and then all this is just knit stitches. See how beautiful that, not that I did it, I just love the way stockinette looks, just so smooth. This looks woolly because it is wool. I love this. After you knit all this, let me back this up. After you knit your rows and rows and rows, your however many inches, until you start decreasing, you see you don't want your hat to just be not get smaller at the top. You know what I mean? Can you see these diagonal kind of things? That's my decreases. And I totally screwed up that. Don't look at my screwed up hole there. But these little places that kind of stand up and do this little twirly thing, that's where I'm going to show you how to decrease later on. But right now, you're just going to knit, 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 knit. You finished this part, or you will have whenever you get there. And then all this is just knit stitches. Totally looks different than regular garter stitch, though, because you're knitting in the round. This is like knitting a row and purling a row, knitting a row and purling a row. But because you're doing it in the round, you're doing both sides. It's a spiral. So it's like you're knitting a row, purling a row, knitting a row, purling a row. If I were just to do a straight piece back and forth with all knit stitches, it would look totally different than this. You'd have the garter stitches. That's what it's called when you knit all your stitches. Anyway, I hope that helps. But that's all you do after you're finished with your brim, which I would totally do a larger brim. I did do a smaller brim on crystals. It's probably about an inch and a half. I should have done a longer brim. But it still looks good, I think. So just whatever your preference is. But after that, then you're just knitting, knitting, knitting every stitch. Until, like I said, why is that so hard to get into? That's probably a stitch yeah, that's those stitches I boo-booed on when yeah, because that's totally messed up right there. So I'll stop because I boo-booed when my thing came apart. I'm going to end up tearing this apart and restarting anyway. But I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments how you're doing. If I need to refilm starting all over again or for good or what. Okay, here's my thumbs up to you guys for trying to learn. Love you bunches. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Hope you remember to fall back with the time and roll your clocks back an hour. It happened in the wee hours of the morning officially, but you know. So your digital stuff like your clocks on your cable boxes, if you have those or whatever your devices are, that like your phones and stuff that automatically go to the right time, then you're cool. But like your watch, you have to manually fix it again. And have to fix my clock on the wall in the squirrel room. Remember to do that. Anyway, I mentioned all that so you won't be off time whenever it's 3 o'clock today, live at 3 bells Eastern. And I'm still noticing that a couple of folks are coming in right at the end, so you're off by an hour. So set your alarm an hour earlier. You know, Google the time difference. Google what 3 o'clock Eastern is in your time zone and set an alarm. Because I surely would love to see all my squirrels there. Wouldn't that be something? Would that be a huge, huge crowd? And I thank you so, so much. I've gotten several new subscribers, and that makes my heart so happy. Finally got over the 1,300 hump, and I hope I can stay there and not go down. And I wish for you all that have channels with content on them that you want to grow your channel. I wish for you that, and we will continue to try and help you with that on our lives. And just anyway, please remember Madonna Ballard. We got Yarny Cats to her birthday wish, which was 300. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here, but I'll leave with that. Please subscribe to Madonna Ballard, and anybody else you know of that needs it. And me too, please. And thank you. And I'll see you at 3. Love ya. Bye-bye.